Today's show is sponsored by Earth Friendly Products. For over 40 years, Earth Friendly Products brought you the greenest home products for all your family needs. Learn more at ecos.com. That's ecos.com. Now let's get to the show. Today's show is sponsored.
What's your thoughts on government cover-ups or covert societies attempting to control humanity? Do you believe in ancient astronauts, intergalactic communication, or extraterrestrial visitations? Ever had an experience with disembodied spirits or the paranormal universe? Are these subjects fact or fiction? Each week, Tony and Eddie explore these unbelievable realities and beyond. Exclusively on Truth Be Told.
Hello and welcome back to another broadcast of Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie. I'm your host, Tony Sweet, and with me now, world-renowned psychic, Eddie Connor.
Thanks so much, Tony, and welcome everyone. Debra Silverman is joining us today, and she's one of the top astrologers in the entire world. Why? Because she's passionate about what she does.
Debra does her own radio show called Tell Me a Story on empowerradio.com. But she is not only an astrologer, she also is a psychotherapist who understands human nature.
That's right. Debra's all about finding the right fit for her clients. She's even developed a unique psychological spiritual model combining her expertise in esoteric astrology, something she calls soul-centered astrology, with her extensive education in psychology in order to help her clients that may be going through some major life changes. Please put your hands together and welcome Debra Silverman.
But we can't hear the applause. Oh my God, that's so funny. That was tricky.
Oh, they love you already. Oh, and we love you already. Well, so am I, but let's leave it at that. Welcome to the show, Debra.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the show. Tony, and what's the other guy's name?
Eddie.
How could I forget? Eddie's a psychic?
He's a world-renowned psychic. He is amazing.
Well, what do we need me for?
Oh, yeah, because this is one of the reasons we as psychics love astrologers, and that is oftentimes what we pick up in people's energy fields in an esoteric or energetic type of way. Astrologers, especially world-famous astrologers, have this wonderful ability to go into the chart, and often they can see it in a physical way in the chart. Does that make sense?
Totally.
And so that's one
just
of the,
nod, Debra.
the fun things. Well, one of the things is I had an imaginary sister whenever I was growing up, meaning she was my twin, and my mom was pregnant, and almost 3 months into the pregnancy, there was a miscarriage, and then she thought that was the end of the pregnancy, and then here comes Gay Houdini, 5 months later, and all my life as a child, from birth to 10 years old, I would interact with my twin sister, and we would play together. We would do all of this stuff together, and get this, the night my baby brother was born, I was 10. I was 10 years old, April the 8th, and he was born on May the 9th. The night he was born was the last time I ever saw and interacted with my twin sister in spirit. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, Terrence Gardino did a reading for me on his show, Astrology and You. And when he did it, he said, "Oh, there's a sibling here in spirit, female energy, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "What?" And I'd hardly ever told anybody. That's what I love about astrology, because I actually believe there's a science to it. Is that true, Debra?
100%. It's the oldest science on Earth, and it's been disregarded because it's complex. But I've made it really simple because I'm a little slow. So I've made astrology into a very basic language. Like, how's this? Water is wet, fire is hot, air is light, and earth is really slow. So you learn water, air, earth, and fire is my basic language that I teach beginners, but there is a science to it that is based in a historical, it's the oldest science on Earth. And I can't really explain it, but I can tell you this, that I came as a skeptic. I didn't really believe in it to start with, and as the years have gone by, it's almost 40 years, I am now a firm believer, because it's every single day I just check, and I'm like, why is this so accurate? And I still can't answer. But we don't really know about science either for deep real. There's this thing called relativity, and the point of view that you bring becomes truth, and it's biased. And so we'll say this. There's no question that science is questionable, and there's no question that astrology has an ancient backdrop to it that really is based in wisdom that can allow people to fall in love. And, you know, we're all hopeless romantics. Everybody you talk to wants to fall in love. So it's either falling in love with what's her name, who you're with, because there's no divorce in heaven and you're stuck with you and you, or you fall in love with someone else, in which case there could be divorce, but the quality of understanding and being able to get to understand the chunky, weird parts of our idiosyncratic personalities never ceases to amaze me. So yes, there's a science to it. It's consistent, and at this point,
Well, I love that you have a psychological, spiritual model that you've combined the best of everything that you do with your astrology. So with that said, Debra, do you believe that we as souls inside of human bodies, do you think as
We
souls
lost already.
Oh no.
I'm going to call her back, though.
Oh. Well, while Tony's calling her back, we have Debra Silverman here. She's a world-famous astrologer. She is phenomenal. She is so good at blending the psychological and the spiritual together, and she's created a soul-centered model as a result of that. And so what we were just asking her is,
Just keep going.
oh, what we were just asking Debra is if she believes that the soul, which is inside of our physical body, and then, of course, out in the cosmos simultaneously, if our soul chooses its purpose or its path once we enter the earth plane, and how astrology is wired into that.
There we go. We have her. Are you there?
retrograde. We're going to be an embodied experience. We're not going to be theory. We're going to show you time Mercury is retrograde. Do you guys know what that means?
I know what Mercury retrograde
But
is.
you're cutting out a little bit, so
Yeah, so we're hearing
So raise your phone all the way up out of. No, I was kidding.
Oh, you're so funny.
Take your phone out of the water.
There we go.
Top of that phone.
But go ahead, Eddie. Ask a question. What you were getting ready to ask.
And so what I was asking, Debra, is this. Do you believe that as souls in human form, that we have an idea of what our purpose or destiny may be when we enter the earth plane through astrology?
Great question. That's such a great question. I was just thinking about this before you guys called. There are some beings that come in with the talent at a young age. So they're artists or they're musicians or they have a natural ability to build something or they have a natural ability to paint. And then other people who are wandering around in the desert going, what's my mother's name? Do you remember me? And they really have a pained experience because their purpose is not as driven. We call it destiny lines. They're not as strong. So the job of the astrologer is mostly for those ones that are lost. Because I think about because I knew astrology. I met it when I was 20, and I'm now almost 60, so it's been a while. But I think about those people. And yes, everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a series of lessons. There's such thing as karma, and there's Akashic records. We really are here on the design program. Einstein said it so well. God is not playing with dice. We're not a mistake. But some people really are wanderers, but they can't remember. And others are like, it's so obvious to them they can't stop doing what they came to do.
And then, so I guess the wanderers may be the souls that are literally just wandering, kind of being in the moment, just sort of enjoying life in that way. And maybe some of the other ones, like me, I'm very driven. Even on my day off, I have a tendency to still do something in harmony with what I feel like my purpose on the planet is. So it's hard for me to relax because I want to fulfill that destiny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm looking at your chart, Eddie, and you have so much earth in your chart this life that you came in as a bit of a workaholic. Like you relax by working. You don't relax by sitting down.
Oh my
so
God.
It's a very different, isn't that true?
Well, yeah, you gave me a funny word. Feel free to use it. I'm an earthaholic.
Yes. Did I say earthaholic? But that was accurate. So you have a real drive. And what's also in your chart is that your parents were incompatible when you were born. So the tension in your household.
You're cutting out. You're cutting out a little bit.
Oh,
not
yeah.
a lot.
Oh, I know.
Did you hear that part?
No, we didn't. We got to the
parents in the household. That's all we heard.
But there was tension in your household. Was that true when you were a kid? Did your parents separate?
Child, it was, yes. It was tension. It was horrific.
Yeah, so what happens to a being like that, this is what we call karma, and it's not a good word or a bad word. People come in with easy lessons and difficult lessons. So some people, like your chart, you have ants in your pants. You're not going to be able to sit still. You love anything to do with woo-woo, and your mind is definitely from another planet. Like you're not thinking the same system, but your energy, your physical energy is way higher than most people.
Wow.
Am I right or am I right?
You are right, and right.
Because he uses woo-woo a lot.
Yeah. I have my whole life. I don't know any other way. That's why they labeled me slow and put me in the slow reading group, and because I didn't fit in.
No, because you don't see this world the way we see it. So here's the good news: you've got your life lesson this lifetime. It is the very last degree. There's only 29 degrees in each sign because there's 12 signs, and they each get 30 degrees for 360 for a round circle. And so you have the very last degree. You came in this life, Eddie, with a promise that you would be very committed to not ever giving up, making the bridge between the worlds. And even when people discouraged you or pushed you away, you were like, I can't stop. I've got to be the bridge maker. Am I right or am I right? I love being right. Go ahead.
Yes, you're right.
You should see his face.
Yeah, and the sweetest thing about you is you must be pretty good looking because you got Venus on the sun when you were born in the heavens that day. Venus and the sun were holding hands, and that tells us that.
I think she was trying to give you a compliment, but you're cutting out again.
Yeah, I know you're cutting. So I heard something about my penis is holding the hand with my son. Are you there? Oh, we lost her.
Well, she's still online.
Oh, can you hear us?
But,
You're still there, Eddie?
oh, we're still here.
Yeah, we can barely hear you. You're way down in the hall of the Akashic Records.
You're about 20 feet under the water right now. So.
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
a little bit.
This is a classic Mercury retrograde situation, everybody.
Mercury retrograde started about a week ago, I think on the 5th of January.
Yeah, and then we'll have Debra Silverman, world-famous astrologer.
She'll be in studio actually February 5th, so the first Friday. Yeah.
Next month?
Yeah.
No.
She's going to be in studio with us, and we're so excited. As you can see, her energy, her passion, and I mean her
it's through the
humor.
roof. Yeah.
Yeah, is definitely there.
Can you hear us, Debra?
I think we lost her. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about for Eddie, because Eddie and I we've had a lot of astrologers on our show, and every single one has their own techniques, but it all goes back to the same foundation of astrology. And when we get her back on, there she goes. Let's
I can't get the chart.
There we go. Hello.
Is that better? Is that better? Is that better?
That sounds good.
Now, is that a different line?
It's a different phone.
I just, I have magic. When you're a Gemini, you just carry telephones in your back pocket.
Oh, I'm a Gemini rising. See, no wonder we love each other.
That's right. We were just
Geminis
complimenting
love that.
We're just telling our audience that you will be back in February for our in studio, which is going to be amazing, and we're glad you got through. And we were talking about how astrology, the foundation is very similar, but everybody has their own ways of interpreting astrology. And but I want you to continue with Eddie because this is so fascinating, and I love watching Eddie. His face be like, what?
Yeah, because
what? No.
Yeah, so we
were just talking about his penis. I mean, Venus. we're talking about Venus being on his sun,
away,
and that
Eddie.
he's a lover, and that he has this very generous heart, even though he's a workaholic. You have a funny split. Now, tell me you can hear me. Tell me you can hear me.
We can hear you.
We can hear you now. Thank you.
I'm so happy. Okay, so the interesting thing about your chart, Eddie, is just the drive. You've got a very high drive pattern. You are not somebody who is playing life in a lukewarm, and it will be very confusing to you why people aren't more loving or why they don't care about spirituality, because that's all you think about. You're a little obsessed.
Yeah.
But that's a very beautiful thing. So now there's an example of a being who came in with a strong purpose. So from a young age, you weren't operating on the same playing field. You were seeing Mercury's in Pisces. Your thought process is otherworldly.
Yeah. 100%.
And yet at the same time, you're grounded enough, Mr. Capricorn, so you promised that you would stay on the task of manifesting this life. And by the way, in 2 years, you're going to have a major, what we call Saturn return, and it'll be 2018, and your life will be finding its next step. But these next 2 years, you're walking up a hill. Don't get confused with being bored or feeling it like it's heavy, but you are walking up a hill.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And everything you said was so spot on, and it feels great in every aspect, my head, my heart, my soul. Thank you.
Oh, I love
So
that.
fun.
Okay.
So
Well,
the answer to your question is, well, how is my astrology different? Have you guys gone onto YouTube and seen my funny videos?
No, I haven't seen them.
you can. Well, first
Oh
of all,
my
just
God. So
looking
what
at
you're
her,
going to do
she's.
is if you go on YouTube
Uh-huh.
and you put in Debra Silverman Aries or Debra Silverman Capricorn, there's a little 5-minute video. I've had over 3-4 million hits on them already.
Wow.
And you'll watch me for 5 minutes do a funny little short video, and oh my God, are you going to laugh? They put me in a studio. They put little outfits on me, and they said, now show them how these signs work. And I'm so schizophrenic, but it worked.
I love that. And that's the kind of stuff that people remember. First of all, we remember the feeling frequency of it. And then when you're doing your magic, we get to hook into your purpose.
Exactly. And I'm having the best time. And then today, get ready for this. Today, I just launched my first entrance in people being able to take an astrology class. Like if you're interested in astrology and you're like, I don't know how this works. Like how could you actually learn that vast science? Because I speak English instead of woo-woo, I could make it really simple, and the next thing you know, oh, judge a millionaire. No, kidding. Just kidding. And the next thing you know, you're talking astrology, and you learned it in a short 6-week period. So anybody out there who's always been fascinated by this ancient Egyptian science that's been left in the back room because somebody told us it wasn't okay, I don't know who made that up. It's all changing now, right now as you speak, right here on the radio.
Well, here's a great question for you, Deborah. Where do you think astrology actually came from? Did it come from humans? Did it come from evolved souls that came down to the earth plane? Where do you think it actually was born?
Such a good question. Such a good question. I'm convinced that it was Egyptian. There's a story that the Egyptian, there was a 2,000-year period on planet Earth where the Egyptians sustained peace. And they had the longest track record of us actually getting along with each other, and they married the soulful spiritual realm of the high priestess with the government archetype of the natural organizing, governing systems. They put the two together. And in that time period, they were able to download, like think about the pyramid, and which we still can't explain to this day. We have no idea. How did the pyramid come to be? Because it was so technically advanced. And similar to astrology, we have no idea where the information came in, but it was downloaded through this unbelievable marriage that we had between spirituality, the right brain, and the left brain, and the ability to articulate. So unfortunately, we've I don't know, I wish I knew what happened. I think it's called evolution. And we had to go down and take a little dip into unconsciousness and going to sleep. And now we're waking up right in front of our eyes, and look what's happening. We're on a telephone in the middle of the universe, and we're playing astrology.
So, and how did you personally come up with the psychological spiritual model yourself, or the esoteric astrology? That's fascinating. And it's, again,
How did you get to these good questions, Eddie? Like, what do you do, makeup questions before I call?
He's smart.
I'm just curious.
Well, it comes to me.
See, you've got little people speaking to you. So I was in graduate school studying clinical psychology, and people would come to see me, and they would tell me how screwed up they were. Like, they would give me all the stories. Of course they did, right? What was wrong with them? And I'd be looking at them going, wait a minute. You look so soulful to me. Why can't I tell you my version? So I decided, because I was studying psychology at the time, and I thought, I have an idea. Rather than me listening to them tell me how screwed up they are, why don't I tell them a reframe of what is wrong, but from the angle of understanding what they were assigned, what they signed up for. And so I liberated what was once a negative trapdoor of what's wrong with me to a spiritual angle of what's right with you and why did God give you this crazy assignment.
Wow. And so you
know what? Want to hear the coolest part? Carl Jung, who they only came out with this about 15 years ago. Every session he did, because he worked during the Freudian time, obviously, he designed the word psychiatry. He had a chart in front of him, and he was quoted to say, psychology will be a dinosaur science until it includes astrology. So he used a chart in every session he did, Carl Jung.
Wow. I had no idea. And I've been studying metaphysics and spirituality for literally 30 years. I had no idea.
Okay, well, here's the good news. Carl Jung was a metaphysical guy. He just couldn't tell you because he's going mainstream.
Yeah.
And so now you can know that all the mandala work, all the personality assessments, he was an astrologer. Ha-ha.
Well, and wasn't Leonardo da Vinci as well?
Totally. And obviously, Einstein had a fascination, and Galileo. The great minds know, as you know, as Mercury and Pisces, that we can't be so arrogant. So embarrassing. to think that we know it all from this angle. Like, really? When we open up the mind to a bigger picture, and it's so exciting because it makes everything so much prettier.
It does. And Deborah, what about Edgar Casey? I'm a fan of his, and I wonder if he studied some astrology too.
Of course he did. Of course he did. Triple Pisces.
Oh.
He was this incredible channel. He was his gift was opening up the channel. He knew astrology person.
Oh, girl, I think we lost you.
We cut out. Are you there?
Let's play Adele. Hello.
It's me.
We're talking to Debra Silverman.
Astrology.
I know. She'll call us right back. First of all, she's fascinating.
She is fascinating. And there she calls back.
Beautiful.
I think we got her back on the line.
Yay, Deborah!
Calling from the other side. Let's sing Adele song.
That's what
we were just doing.
We just said that.
I'm calling from the other side. Don't hang up on me. I promise that we'll slay the stars and I will help you see. Oh, I made it up.
Wow. We got a songwriter.
That was pretty good,
Toad
huh?
didn't know it.
We were in astrology church.
Hey, Deborah.
You are, and everybody's got stars, and they're all operating, whether you know it or not. And I just wish everyone, my fantasy is that when kids go to school, the teachers look at I did this once. The teachers look at their charts and they go, look, this little girl, she doesn't talk, but she dreams. And this little boy, he doesn't talk, but he likes to be outside with his hands working out. Why are we not getting people to be who they are?
Perfect.
That would have made every ounce of difference in my entire structured educational background, and that's the truth.
Me too. I was in the special ed too because
I was. They put me in all of that stuff for a minute. So I like what you do. You're doing kind of these people that would come to you even in the beginning when you started studying psychology, and they were telling you all their problems. I like how you were soul spinning it. You were telling them this is the greater part of that which you are. Try this, try that, instead of just the regular, mundane, earthly, three-dimensional, let's bang around till we get it right stuff.
You know why? Because I hate therapy that just talks. Like maybe this is my Jewish blood or maybe it's just my practicality, but I want results. Like I want people to leave the session and they go, oh my God, that just turns everything around. So if somebody like you, Eddie, with your chart, your mental, so it's like think if you were 17 and you came to see me and I said to you, listen, your mind, your Mercury's in Pisces, you are a dreamer and you live in other worlds. So don't listen to them at school and you'd be like, really? Like what a relief to have an authority or an elder come and give you permission to not be weird.
Well, not only
you were weird.
I was very weird, but let me tell you why I was weird. And you already know the answer to this. It's because I was living in other worlds. And every time I shared what I saw in those other worlds, I was smacked down. I was told it's not real. You know, why's he talking to air? I'm talking to dead people, bitch. Not you. I'm talking to my...
Now, Tony, I'm looking at your chart. You don't have the same problem. But are you having any health issues right now, Tony? Have you been feeling energetically? Don't tell anyone. We're on the radio. Have you been feeling a little tired?
A lot tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This only happens once every 30 years. All Sagittarians, but particularly you, the last 2 months is really dragging you down. But all you need to know is when it's winter, sometimes people don't know this, and astrology helps us with this. There's different cycles we go in. So there's times when everything's so easy and fertile myrtle and everything's flowing and, oh, boy, we're having a birthday party.
Right.
And then there's times when we're grumpy. And I hate to tell you this, but you're a little bit grumpy right now. I mean, it's not a bad thing, Tony, but can you feel it?
Oh, which is funny. I'm rarely ever grumpy, but the last 3 or 4 days I have been like...
Bless his heart. He's been grumpy McGrumpy.
Yeah.
Not to me.
It's exact degree. It's exact degree the last week. So it only happens once every 30 years, but it's a time really to pause. I mean, that's what astrology's for. It gives us cycles and it gives us the window of time to know which way to go. And that's so kind of, you know, if we knew enough, we wouldn't have to get sick. But we're so goofy. We never know how to stop until we're sick. It's so stupid.
That's literally just happened to both of us.
Yeah, we both got sick just in the last couple of weeks.
So we're forced to slow down instead of sustaining the balance that could have actually kept us from being sick.
But because of work,
but if you would have been told slow down, could you have done it without? This is the gift of getting to be a grown-up.
No.
I'm learning so much more about slowing down. I'm not good at it, but I'm so much better than I was when I was your guys' age.
Oh, thank you. No,
I'm just telling the truth.
I still don't slow down.
I'm the same. I don't. I know I should, but I don't.
Yeah.
And Tony, you're such a deep soul. Boy, you have such a rich inner world. It's not easy to verbalize. You would be a really good astrologer. Has it ever occurred to you to study astrology, Tony? Have you ever been interested in it?
I'm interested. I just never really thought about studying it. In fact, even the psychic medium side, I never thought about it. But Eddie and I and one of our John, one of our coworkers here, we went to Lisa Williams' medium school workshop for mediumship or something like that.
All of the above.
And I just went to observe, and all of a sudden I started.
You've got the ability. You've got the ability, Tony. You have a dream world that you don't really get. It's hard to put words to it, but you have an access. If this birth time is right, 8:55 a.m., you are very much being used. You remember your dreams?
Majority of them I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a dreamer. See, that's another thing that got lost in our culture. There was a time when astrology knew how to be used, and we knew how to refer to the great wisdom of the elders. And then there was a time when dreams were part of the shamanic world, which is what your chart's more about. Knowing how to use the language of symbols. And there's an art form to it. I have this great story of this client coming to see me, and she just started dating this guy, and she had this random dream about this guy going golfing, and he didn't have any. He pulled out his all of the stuff he needed, and he couldn't find any of his balls. And she was like, "What does that mean?" And I said, "The guy has no balls. Like, this is kind of simple. You're not dating him anymore."
That's right. And did he have
like,
a short club
what
too?
What allowed him to dream?
Yeah. See, aren't dreams the simplest forms of guidance?
I love to dream. I love dreams. I love when I'm flying. I love when I fly. I used to fly quite a bit. But recently, which is funny, I've been having weirder dreams. Like normally I don't have, not necessarily like what you would call nightmares, but they've just been weird dreams. Stuff I'm like, really? What is that about? Normally it's just kind of like fantasy.
It's because it's what happens is it's the same thing. If this is the gift of astrology. If only people knew that everything goes in cycles. Like what in the olden days when we lived at the moon and we knew how to follow the rhythms, we had such a different relationship with being able to pay attention to the cycles we were in. And I can look at a chart. It's so easy to see when someone's moving up. Like in this case with what's going on in your chart right now, and you're moving down. The energy's going down. It's quieting. It's making you a little bit tired or feeling a little bit internal, Tony.
Right.
That's a wonderful thing to know. And then you have permission to say, you know what, spend the whole month of December and push and see if you can let your body direct you because you're recalibrating, changing your rhythm. That's the gift of astrology. You get to tell somebody.
Well, and you know something, Deborah, you're onto something really big with this. If you think about it, I'm an idea factory. That's one of my problems. But you know what you just said is brilliant because you just are helping the nation and the world understand what their cycle is, therefore what their pattern is in certain things. Even if you put something together that was nothing but a quarterly pattern for people based on their birth dates and or yearly cycles and patterns, just generally, and then some specifics. Oh my goodness. You would.
I know. That's why I know. And so here's the deal. I'm teaching this course. It's so much fun where I can help people learn how to do it themselves because there's only so much of me to go around. And yes, once you learn, you're so right. If we understood when the dark night of the soul arrives, between the age of 28 and 30, and between the age of 58 and 60 is a radical turning point that people need to know. It's called Saturn return. You may have heard of it. You guys heard of it?
Yes.
Say it one more time.
Saturn return.
Oh, Saturn return. Okay.
Yes. So when that happens, that initiates the entrance of growing up. It means that somewhere your maturing process, like the entrance of you really wanting to stand up and be counted for and take your place in the world. So for you, Tony, that would have been in 2000. What happened in 2000 for you, Tony? That should have been a big turning point.
Well, I did. I turned 30.
2000.
Yeah, I turned 30. I think I became single and I started looking at moving away from Kansas.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a couple of years, but I really was wanting to move away from the Midwest.
And that's also around the same time, Deborah, just so you know, where he was also soul searching about certain religions, spirituality.
Oh, yeah. From 25 to about 30, I would go to Buddhist temple. I would go to in Kansas, especially in the Bible Belt. You know, people thought I was weird, but I would just go to. I wanted to learn about all these other religions because I felt Like it just,
Exactly, your spirit was calling you.
yeah.
So that is a perfect example where that turning point, 28 to 30, people end relationships or they start relationships, but they really begin the entrance of seeking their true purpose, because that's what Saturn's about. You asked earlier, how come some people have such a clear sense of destiny and others are wandering? That's the marker. When if it doesn't happen between 28 and 30, if you really did get kind of lost in the desert, it's a great time to call an astrologer, because the directives are built into the system. The chart does give directives, and basically you're already doing it. The thing about astrology is it's like saying to you, you have red curly hair, and you're like, I do have red curly hair, and you're like, well, that was so obvious. But when someone else tells you, because they can see it from the stars or from a spiritual angle, there's such confirmation, like, oh, I was supposed to have red curly hair. And all of a sudden, well, since you become much more at peace with or accepting, and that's my favorite thing to do, is to give people back to themselves. Like, don't feel bad about being quirky. We're all a little strange. But the beauty of being able to observe yourself from a distance without judging, so much fun. And then you have a language to talk about it. All the students that I've taught, it becomes addicting. It's like, it's so liberating. It's so perfect. The system is so airtight. I love astrology. I love it.
I do too. I love it too. And what I want to do is, can we take about just a 15-second break? When we come back, and it was funny. One of our listeners, actually, Eddie, and I didn't even tell you this. They listened to quite a few of our shows, and they said, Tony, you're always questioning your future. They said, and they even said, it's so obvious to us even. And I thought that was like, wow, that was kind of weird that somebody that just listens to us and say that I question a lot.
And it's so in your chart. She said you question the future?
Yeah. I question my not necessarily my purpose. I do that too, but
your future,
just my future itself with this company and in this show, everything.
In astrology, 11th house, and you have Venus, what you love the most, in the 11th house. That's so astute. You are a futurist, and that's a time traveler. Your chart is a time traveler, Tony. You get caught between, so excited to go into the future, and then back here at the ranch, and you're going between the worlds. It's different than Eddie's more of a seer. You're more of an energetic. Your chart is kind of like a voice that wants to speak to the unspeakable and say things that no one's supposed to say. Do you get in trouble for sticking your foot in your mouth?
Oh, child. I had to get me a size 14 shoe.
Well, it's funny. I'm not one of those that just verbally, like, you know how some people are just like regurgitating, but I question a lot.
You're spontaneous. You have, and you've got Mars in Aquarius, and Mars is the male energy, and Aquarius is the futurist. So that was very astute. Yeah.
All right.
You are someone who's setting the pace in the future.
15 seconds. We're going to take a break. And
take a break, baby. Let's go.
Then can we come back? And I want to know what you see in the next few years, if you don't mind.
Okay. I don't mind.
All right. Here we go. On over Tony Sweet, Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie.
I'm Eddie Connor.
I'm Tony Sweet. We'll be right back. Today's show is sponsored by Adventures Unlimited Press. Take your mind on a literary journey and go to adventuresunlimitedpress.com to purchase books from our famed experts featured right here on Truth Be Told. That's adventuresunlimitedpress.com. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Truth Be Told. I'm Eddie Connor.
I'm Tony Sweet.
And we have with us Debra Silverman, world-famous astrologer.
Amazing.
And she has her own show. And this is a great title for a show, which I've never heard until just now. It's called Tell Me a Story. And it's on empowerradio.com. How did you come up with Tell Me a Story? And then I know Tony's got a question.
Go ahead. And that's a great question.
It's such a good show title.
The title, because first of all, I love listening. It's my favorite thing in life. That's what made me a good therapist, is really hearing people. But people have good stories. You know why God made us?
Why?
Because she loves stories.
Oh, gosh, you know something else, too, when you said that, I was going to ask you earlier, there is a huge loss in our community, maybe more in North America than any other country in the world right now. There's a huge loss of storytelling.
Oh, yes.
People aren't sharing that aspect of themselves anymore and talking about the heritage and the lineage and all of that stuff, and where mint comes from. It comes from a bottle of gray malt. No, it don't, honey. It's a plant.
That's so sweet. I love listening to those stories. That's fun. I find my favorite parts of my work is people come to see me who really want to get transformed when they're done getting stuck or they're done being lost. And the first part of how I start the program is to have them tell me their whole story with this question in mind. what did this soul sign up for? Like, what's the intention? What did your lifetime stalk you? It's like Jeopardy. If the answer is your lifetime and we're looking to see what was the question that God had when she made you, that's like my favorite part of the puzzle.
I love this. And I love that you reference God as she.
Well, there's two of them. I mean, but we always forget her. Somehow she got understated, so I'm making up for lost time. I'm sick of calling it she all the time.
Well, and I think she's the one that would put astrology in schools. Hello.
Well, okay. Listen, I don't feel like I'm lost anymore. Through my 20s and 30s, and even 30, 20, 30s, I really didn't know what direction to go. I really didn't. I knew I had a purpose. I knew there was something big for me to do. But as I got into my 40s, I felt a little more comfortable in my own skin.
That's very sad. They take longer. Sag blossom at 40.
Well, now that I'm 46, I feel like I'm on my right path, but I'm not sure what that is. And so through astrology, what can one see for me?
You mean,
well,
what
first
can
of all,
you see?
It's the assurance. Like what you just said is ridiculous. You just goofball. You are so on your path. You know where you're going, and then you don't know where you're going. That's so sad. Hello.
I know.
You do know where you're going. You do. You are clearly a messenger. Look what you're doing on the radio.
True.
True. It's clear as bell. The problem.
See, Mercury doesn't want me to know.
Low grade feeling.
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on, because you're cutting out again.
Hold on just a second,
You're cutting
Debra.
out a little bit, and so I want to make sure I hear this because
I know. Did the phone just go funny?
It did. It's so funny.
I'm like, wait a minute, not now.
Okay.
Okay, you're back on now. Go.
Okay, so here's the answer. When you just said that was such a great example. You are on but the low grade feeling for most people that they should be doing more, or there's a different sense of, I'm not sure I'm really on my path. There's no question this radio show is what you're here to do. You promised that you would come and make us think. And you'd ask provocative questions and get us off the edge of our seat and start looking at the big picture, Mr. Sage, right?
Right. That is
true. So it's really not true that you don't know what you're doing. The real issue is we aren't in control. This lifetime is about, we are so bad at this, but I had a really good friend who's a Zen teacher, and we were sitting in the hot tub together, and we were in total silence, and I said to him, isn't it funny that all we really do in this life is breathe? And he said, yeah, the funny part is your ego thinks it's breathing. So you're being breathed right now. We are not in control. There's a divine design. And when we give our life over to service, like genuinely wanting to give back, everything starts to be magic.
That's when everything starts moving.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can go through
100% true.
I've worked in textile mills. I've worked in the wonderful world of fast food. I've worked in some mundane warehouses. And the second I made the decision to do something that was heart and soul motivated, that would uplift others, literally heaven and earth moved me in places, circumstances, and situations I would have never allowed my brain to accept had I not already had the impetus from the inside out to go there. And I have a question for you, Debra. You talked about the Saturn return, and I think you said it happens between 28 and 30 years old.
60.
Okay, between 58 and 60, and also between 28 and 30. So here's a question for your girlfriend. Okay, we want to know what happened with you on your first Saturn return between 28 and 30 years old.
And now you're in that.
That's so sweet. Okay, but first I just want to back up for 1 second because I have to really underline what you said.
Okay.
Life changes when your prayer is, how can I be of service? If I had to give everyone, this is what I started at the sweet age of 21. How can I be of service? Who can I enlighten? How can I lift up the energy? How can I make people smile? If everyone just had that one prayer, what can I do to give? The whole thing would change in half an hour. That's the first thing.
So
the
true.
second thing is, it's so funny you're asking what happened during my Saturn return, because right now, this last month, I'm in my second Saturn return, and I've been but the first one happened, I was studying astrology, I was imagining my feet going, what will happen? And what happened, the first one was I was living in Vancouver, and the biggest radio show called me just to be a host, to be one of their guests on a show. It was random. I got on the show, and within that second call, that producer called me the next day and said, would you be a regular? And so I was on mainstream radio.
Wow.
When people were driving home from work in Vancouver, that nobody believed in astrology because I had the gift of the gab, you may have noticed. They said, would you come play astrology? And the next thing I knew, I was doing astrology on the radio for the next 2 years, and my practice went, and that's where I really realized, wow, radio is a Secret Service agent. You sneak into people's ears. They get to relax in their own home or in their car. Now it's on the internet. And you get to infiltrate a brand new thought process, but just what you guys are doing. So that was my first Saturn return when I was 28 to 30. I became a well-known astrologer in the city of Vancouver, British Columbia. And now, this week, and today, it's so funny, is the entrance of me being able to teach other people in a really simple fashion. So if anyone's interested, you just go to apprenticeship at Debra Silverman Astrology, Debra, apprenticeship at Debra Silverman Astrology, and you say, I heard she's teaching a class. And then it's the coolest thing that you go on a screen in a room full of, there's only 10 people in each class. Up comes your chart. You learn astrology live time by looking at the chart and learning bit by bit by bit.
And we just lost you the very tail end right there.
Right there at the end.
There she is. No, there she's gone.
She started to cry.
Oh.
Did you hear anything I said?
We did. It was just that last sentence.
Yeah.
The last sentence.
We just missed the last sentence on going to the apprenticeship at
Debra Silverman Astrology.
Okay.
Debra, Debra Silverman Astrology. You can go to my website, Debra Silverman Astrology, and click on Learn. And the very first thing is the apprenticeship. So my Saturn return is a dream being fulfilled, which is, can I teach people to remember that they really can fall in love with their fate, with who they are, with their partners, with their kids? Like, we got to get this love thing back.
Well,
I'm in love.
Well, I have a question because I'm not a.
Tony has a question.
What was that? It's like a.
That's who I'm in love with. He just made a sound effect. He's a raven. The guy's a little nuts, but he's cute.
I was like, what was that?
They said, what was that? They heard the sound in the middle of the film.
Even though Eddie is a psychic, I'm not. I'm more of an intuitive, and I definitely feel like I have the ability but I'm not there yet. But for yourself. Psychics can predict this future, but even Eddie says that we can change our destiny and change our future. What about astrology? Is it pretty much set in stone when you see something in a chart?
I'm sorry. No. Everything is in clay. Everything's wet. So they give you prophecy and they tell you what's happening, and then you have, as soon as you enter into the conscious awareness, let me be of service. Mm-hmm. You enter into free will, because now you are actually working as the agent to make a difference. But if you're unconscious and you're sound asleep in the middle of the movie and you're sleepwalking, there's not a lot of free will, and you're bumping into things, and there's prophecies, and you're going to get sick and fat and ugly, and I'm so sorry. So the question is, can you change that story? Of course you can change that. As soon as you wake up, I was born the year of the cock-a-doodle-doo. I was born in the year of the, what's it called?
The rooster.
Rooster.
I was too. I was too. That's my.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's mine.
So we wait. Hysterical. We wake people up, cock-a-doodle-doo, and that's what helps people realize you don't have to be stuck in your stupid movie. Every one of you listening has a free will button. Yeah. But it requires a devoted, open heart that says, I'm willing to be of service. That's the only way this game works. I wish people got that when they were in second grade. Like, would you just be nice? Like, come here, Tommy. That was mean. Sit down. I'm going to give you a hug, and then you're going to be nice to her.
Meanwhile, I think and because I'm 54 going on 55, and I went to school when we had art, when we had NAP, when we had music, when we had drama, luckily I had at least those outlets. And I think when we have the right brain outlets that feel more like the feminine energy, sort of being grounded with the masculine energy within us, it's easier. You know what I mean? And now everything's so left brain and cerebral and memorization.
But not for long. You asked about the future.
Yes.
That's going to come to a crashing halt. That doesn't work anymore. We all know the school system is really broken. But it will definitely find those teachers who know how to use their heart and really see the child's essence. And some kids there's so many kids right now. There's all these, what do they call these babies that are so enlightened? The indigo children.
Oh, indigo.
Yes.
There's so many. They're coming in by the hordes, and they're so much smarter than us, and they're so much more awake. They're going to say to the school system, no. Like, how many of us listen to the show, all were the alternative ones going, no.
That's right.
I never listened to what they told me to do. I was always the kid that was, excuse me, I have a question. I never quite got it, which was kind of fun.
I was too ADD.
And now, yeah, you were that kid too, obviously, in the slow path. But the good news is there are enough kids coming on this planet, and some of you listening have these indigo kids, and they're so much older than us, and they have their third eye open. They can see, and they have prophecy, and they have the gift of honesty and They're not conditioned like we were to be. I always think the school system takes chunky soup and blends it into all homogenized. But that's not going to continue in the future. Coming soon to our neighborhood, astrology, I'm telling you, we are around the corner from a major change.
It feels like that. Also, the three of us, we do what we do today because we did not conform to the cookie cutter structure back during structured education. We behaved well. We were probably polite kids, but at the same time, we had our middle fingers up and we're like, I'll show you. I will go out and talk to angels.
And that's the answer to your question, Tony, about the future. The future is about 30 miles east of here. We're just about there. And what you're going to find when you get there is that you have been the leader and you were the ones you were waiting for. So it's not so far away. It's just a matter of you realizing, speaking these conversations, being on this radio show, this is absolutely going crazy right now. There's so many people who are waking up and they're pockets. And it doesn't take a lot to change the direction.
Well, we have about 4 minutes left, and we definitely want to encourage everybody that tuned in today that if you want to hear more of Debra, not only can you go to her website, DebraSilvermanAstrology.com, but
DEBRA.
Yes, and then Debra's going to be in studio in the first, I think, February 5th, I believe. Here.
And we can do call-ins. People can call in for that one.
Yes, we definitely, and so you guys need to mark your calendars for that. Again, I'm actually interested in your online astrology academy. Tell me again how that can work and
you just write. It's so cool. It makes I can't even tell you how much fun it is. It's like candy for me. Apprenticeship at Debra Silverman Astrology. It's a lot of words. I thought it should have been easy, like signmeup.com. But anyway, apprenticeship at Debra Silverman Astrology, and you just say you're interested. It's going to be a little tricky because we've gotten such a great response, and we're going to interview people, and we're going to read your applications and see how metaphysically sophisticated you are, because the quicker I can help you learn, if you've got a natural interest, obviously you guys do, then it makes it much easier to understand the flavors of the elements particularly, and then it goes on to the planets, and within 6 weeks, you have a working relationship with being, and by the end of the second test, you can start doing charts, and people can make money doing this because everybody likes to talk about themselves.
Well, I don't want to end on a negative note, but right now there's a major crisis around the world when it comes to the with Wall Street, the Dow Jones, and the militia in Oregon, and
that's not
China.
Negative. That's the dismantling of an old structure that's so dated.
I'm so glad you said
anyone
that
knows Aquarius and knows astrology knows that we've got to return back to basics and get our feet back on the ground. That's what all that's going on. So don't misinterpret. This is what astrology does. It reframes what looks bad to being part of a longer cycle. And suddenly you realize, just like giving birth, when the woman's giving birth, she's screaming and you think everything's wrong. And as soon as that baby comes out, the miracle begins. So we don't want to interpret the sound effects of everything being broken, that something's wrong. We are in a birthing cycle.
Yeah, there's definitely an illusion to things, what we see versus what's really happening in the ethers, as it were. And you're so good at taking what's happening invisibly and bringing it onto the earth plane and helping us understand that. We appreciate that so much, Debra.
I'm so glad you said it that way, because there's a lot of people that get so discouraged out there and they just don't know where to go. And
they get scared.
And there's a lot of, you see a lot of the mass exits right now with some of our, very talented celebrities.
Well, we'll talk about that next time. In our next session, we'll talk about the different personality types that respond to crisis. Some people cry and they get really moody and depressed. Some people talk and get all edgy. Some people get practical and want to go fix things. And some people want to run out of the house. So there's a different flavor. And the most important thing is to be yourself. Be yourself, because everyone else is taken.
Wow, great advice. Thank you so much.
Well, Debra, thank you so much for being here, and we cannot wait to have you back in studio.
Okay, and sorry about that Mercury retrograde. Thank you guys for being so
please.
Okay.
It was well worth it. And every word we could hear, it was amazing.
Beyond.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you in a few weeks.
It's true. I'll see you in the studio.
Thanks,
All right,
Debra.
Take care.
Bye.
We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. All right, well, it is our time here on Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie. And again, if you just tuned in or halfway through, make sure you go to our YouTube channel. Just type in Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie. Subscribe, listen to all of our shows, and listen to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, and now on iHeartRadio. Again, we appreciate you guys listening to us every week, and it's great to see the success that you guys are making Truth Be Told. And we hope you, if you have suggestions for us of guests or anything, or even just criticism, like people on YouTube that say anything that's, I wouldn't even say negative, but a criticism, I say thank you for the feedback, because we need feedback. I want it good or bad. So thank you so much for that. Eddie, you did a great job today. I'm so glad you're back, because last week you were sick.
I was sick.
But that's our time. Stick around for Char Margolis. You might know her as a psychic medium, one of the world-renowned ones.
To the stars,
To the
man.
stars. All right, that's our time. We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.